Stories are focused this bulletin. Ranjani Srinivasan, an Indian student who was pursuing her doctorate in urban planning from Columbia University in New York, has left the United States after her student visa was revoked. The revocation, which took place on the 5th of March, came after allegations that she had shown support for Hamas, an organization that the American government has designated as a terror group. Ranjani Srinivasan, rather than challenging the decision through legal means, chose to voluntarily self-deport, marking a dramatic response to the situation. She had entered the United States on an F1 student visa. A video that's been released by the Department of Homeland Security shows Ranjani Srinivasan rushing down a jetway with her luggage just before departing the country. The Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, has confirmed that she used the CBP Home app to self-deport, emphasizing that when individuals advocate for violence and terrorism, they should not be allowed to remain in the country. So the visuals that you see currently on your screen are of Ranjani Srinivasan, who is seen leaving the United States. She's in the airport as is being captured on a security camera. She decided to self-deport after her visa had been revoked by the American government. Let me go across to my colleague Rishabh for more on this now. Rishabh, now she decided to self-deport, Ranjani did, after her visa had been revoked by the American government, wherein the American government has found proof that she was supporting Hamas, which has been proscribed in the United States as a terror organization. She was seen supporting Hamas on campus in Columbia University. Take us through the details and the evidence that the American government has managed to now gather against Ranjani Srinivasan for her revocation of her visa.
Well, what we're given to understand that the U.S. Department of Homeland Security had announced that an Indian doctoral student from Columbia University, she was from Columbia University, and her visa was revoked for supporting Hamas, and and she has voluntarily left the United States. This is what the Homeland Security has informed, and what we're given to understand that using the CPB Home app, that is an app that has been created by the ICE, authorities of the United States, where you can, apply for self-deportation using the CPB app. Ranjani Srinivasan, as her name has been given, had, applied for self-deportation, and her departure was facilitated by the United States. And remember, her visa was cancelled on 5th of March. What we're given to understand that during the series of protests against the government, there, in various universities, there was a siege in various universities, especially in Columbia and other universities of New York. There were many foreign students who were marked protesting. And since the Trump government has come in, it was very clear that whoever had protested against America back then will have to be deported. And many who were on the student visa, their student visa was revoked as well. And now Ranjani Srinivasan is one such case.
All right. Thanks a lot for that update, Rishabh. Now, who is Ranjani Srinivasan? Well, she was a doctoral student in urban planning. She had previously completed her bachelor's degree at Ahmedabad University and her master's degree at Harvard. She's now facing allegations of supporting Hamas, which is why her visa had been revoked. Let's take this across to our guests as well. Captain Alok Bansal joins us. He's director of the India Foundation. Professor Tanveer Ejaz, columnist as well as academician, and so does Srinjoy Chaudhary as well. Captain Bansal, coming to you first and foremost, hypothetically speaking, now if this had been an Indian university campus, where a group of foreign students had decided to support an organization like the Lashkar-e-Toiba, which is banned by the MHA and the Indian government, the Indian government would be very much entitled to exercise its right to revoke their student visa and send them back. Do you believe that's exactly what's happened in the case of Ranjani Srinivasan? It's a case of freedom of expression taken too far in the United States, where she was seen supporting an organization that the American government has proscribed as a terror outfit.
It's not exactly the same, though you could say it's similar, because firstly, Hamas was directly not in confrontation with the United States. Secondly, it is not very clear whether she was supporting Hamas or was opposing Israel actually and their actions in Gaza, because that details have not yet come out from the US government. So we exactly don't know what she was exactly doing as far as that is concerned. She had done her post-graduation from Harvard. She had done MPhil. and she was on a valid visa at that point of time. US government is well within its right to cancel the visa of anybody who's studying there. But till the time the details come out, I think, and the fact of the matter is that she was not protesting alone. There were thousands of US students also who were protesting. Now, singling her out, maybe it's to my mind, it appears to more like a strong arm tactics of Trump administration, which is unwilling to brook any opposition.
All right. In fact, let me take this across to Mr. Professor Ijaz as well. Professor Ijaz, we're still trying to ascertain the details as to what the evidence is that the American government has at its disposal to allege that Ranjani Srinivasan was indeed supporting Hamas. Clearly, a distinction needs to be drawn between supporting the Palestinian cause, so to speak, advocating for a separate state of Palestine, as opposed to supporting directly or indirectly Hamas, which has been proscribed in the United States as a terror organization. We'll actually await the exact details as to what the evidence the American government has. But what do you have to make about the action that's been initiated by the American government in revoking her visa, after which she decided to self-deport? She did not try to legally challenge that revocation. She decided to exit the country on her own.
Yeah, so I think that explains the kind of environment which is there, particularly in some of the U.S. universities. You know, we are hearing about Columbia University, that how university and the state, they are cracking down on students who are doing any kind of political activity, any kind of political protest, right? So they're cracking on them, and you know, as I understand that, if somebody is pro-Palestine, need not necessarily be pro-Hamas, right? Because what we are seeing at the moment is that, of course, U.S. is at war with Palestine, a proxy war with Palestine, and therefore the state would not like any kind of protest. But let me try to explain. You know, she's a doctoral candidate of a social science doing urban planning, particularly land liberations, and she's also working on the history of the geographies of capitalism and caste. You know, so I think she is quite intellectual enough to take a position, right? Now, the point is that if you take a position in the universities, of course, there are arguments for those positions. The state must not crack down on these students. They must engage with these students, right? I mean, they must listen to these students. So across the world, you know, there would be a group of students who would be supporting Israel, right? Which is neck deep in genocide, right? So you know, how does that is different from the one who is supporting Palestine? You know, I mean, of course, arguments are there both the sides. The state must encourage such, and in universities, of course, the students need to take a position. You know, it is a space where they think about the politics, they do politics, and they try to also resent. You know, they dissent. So I think U.S. of course is as a neo-conservative government moving towards more majoritarianist policies, and therefore I think U.S. is losing its moral compass to have a leader, you know, at the global level. So I think it's too much, you know. I mean, just revoking visa for a student protesting in the university, explaining, you know, their own positions. I think it's too much. So the state must try to understand that such kind of an activity would bring bad name to the U.S. itself.
Okay, Srinjoy, coming to you now, for the benefit of our viewers, let me just read out the short statement that's been issued by the Department of Homeland Security justifying the revocation of her visa. It says Ranjani Srinivasan was involved in activities supporting Hamas, a terrorist organization. On the 5th of March 2025, the Department of State revoked her visa. The Department of Homeland Security has obtained video footage of her using the Customs and Border Protection Agency app to self-deport on the 11th of March. So that's the statement that they've issued, in which, Srinjoy, they've categorically stated that she was involved in activities supporting Hamas, a terror organization. Those are the words that the Department of Homeland Security has used. Now they should, in fact, one would say, step forward and provide the evidence that they have with them to prove that she was indeed supporting Hamas, not merely the Palestinian cause?
Yeah, there are several things here that have to be looked at. First, was she actually supporting Hamas, or was she supporting the Palestinian cause? Now, it's one thing to support Hamas, it's another to support the Palestinian cause. So that's one. Was she criticizing Israel, or was she doing something that was anti-Jewish? So again, these are different things. Also, historically, has this ever happened before? Because there have been huge upsurges in the universities in America in the past, in 1968 most famously, and then also later on as well. Now, is this really the first time that such a thing is happening? And if that is so, then maybe we should take a look at why this is happening. And of course, we heard that this Trump government is very different from its predecessor, the Biden government. So if that is so, then one of the answers is there. But it's important to have all the facts in place. So also the fact that she didn't contest this, she didn't go to court on this, she just walked off. One wonders why that would be so. Was that a personal choice? These are all things that we have to examine. Maybe she thought that with a government that she opposes that strongly, it is quite possible that she could possibly lose the case. But then again, in the United States, as in India, the judiciary and the executive are entirely different to a very, very large extent. So that too has to be kept in mind. So one wonders why she didn't even contest the whole issue.
Sure. Srinjoy, as well as our guests, I'd urge them to stay with us because we have some breaking developments in this matter. After Ranjani Srinivasan had self-deported herself due to the cancellation of her visa, politics has now begun back home on this issue. She was accused of backing Hamas, but the CPM has backed the PhD candidate. The CPM leader has said that everyone has the right to protest and that this is a case of free speech being violated by the American authorities, in fact, who've cracked down on freedom of expression. That's their claim. Let's listen to what was said.
Regarding the pre-Palestinian protest, in almost all the countries, the students are protesting against the atrocities of the Israel. So it's democratic to protest for the Palestine. They are not supporting Hamas, but then and the U.S. may term this as supporting Hamas, a terrorist organization. That is the thing. I still remember a poem by the Chilean poet Nicanor Parra. He always says that in America, liberty is just a statue. And this statement underlines the current situation.
So that's the response coming in from the Communist Party of India. Professor Ejaz, Captain Bansal, as well as Srinjoy, thank you for your perspective on the story. We're slipping into a short break right now. We'll come back with a lot more lined up on the